change hands. It could change hands again this evening. Now, we know about Liverpool's staying power, we know about Manchester City's staying power, but are you expecting the likes of Leicester and United to last the course? And therefore, what importance does that put on not dropping points against those sides not involved in the title race, like Burnley?
Your questions pretty much involve all the answers. So it's yes, it changes all the time, and that's because it's so close. We know that since a few weeks, and yeah, that makes it a slightly different title race or race in general this year. And we have to be ready 100%, and that's what we try to do constantly. I know that in this business, only results count. I'm long enough in to know that. But before you have a result, you need performances, and the last performance was really good. So for 95 minutes, I'm not sure, but one team celebrates the performance like, I don't know, it was really, really good, and we had to say, oh, it was not as good, or we said how it was, how we saw it. But we didn't win. We know that, and now we have another chance to change that, and that's exactly what we try.
It was highlighted after the United game, Firmino's role in the side, and that winning possession back in the final third has dropped off by 50%. From your point of view, Jürgen, is Roberto not as effective as he's been in the past? And if so, is that down to his levels? Is it down to losing something from midfield because of the problems you've had at centre half? And if so as well, how do you get him back to those levels that have brought you such success?
By training. So let's start with that. That's how it is. And of course, but we didn't score a lot of goals in the last few games, so that doesn't mean that Roberto's performance dropped or whatever. Not have or whatever the counter press stats, if it's like this, if they drop for 15%, yeah, that's in this game it was not the case because of a player was not there or whatever, or we didn't well enough. We had a lot of great counter pressing situations in this specific game. In other games, before we can counter press, they play a long ball. That's how it is. So that's not always about your own approach. It's about the approach of the opponent as well. But how I said, we know that we are not exactly where we want to be, and there are some reasons for it, but they are not too important. It's about that we have to fight it, and that's what we do. And so for that, in this moment, you realize that it goes really quick. The perception from outside goes really quick. People get very unhappy with the performances when the result is not there. You can win a game with one lucky strike, and people here and journalists as well are really happy and say unbelievable defending and stuff like this and great. But we have to play football, and we have to play our football, and that's what we do. And but we constantly try to do it on the highest level, and really often the boys did it. And in the last few games, in the final third, we didn't do it exactly like that. There were situations, they were the best, they could have been the best chance of the game, but because of one decision, which we would have done maybe a little bit earlier in the season, for sure last season, the decision we would have made differently, we didn't score. So that's it. And that's all. And to change that, to change the small details, that's not easier than to change the big details. It's just a job to do, and that's what we are working on. I cannot say it differently, sorry.
And just a couple of things on the injury front. Is Joel Matip ready, or still a case of not rushing him back just yet? And how long before we can expect Jota to be involved, and how much have you missed him as an option?
So, first and foremost, Joel is in full training. And now we have to make a decision. We will see how that will be until tomorrow. So yesterday trained completely normal. And Diogo is still a few weeks away. Don't know exactly how long, but will not be in the next 1 or 2 weeks. He needs time. The injury needs time. So, and how much I miss a player is not important, because when a player is not there, it's not allowed to miss him. I never think like that. It's just he's not there, and that's why we have to deal with the situation. That's what we did. But we are all happy when in the hopefully near future when he will be back again.
Thank you, Vinny. Mandy, and then we'll go to James Mountford. Mandy.
Hi Jürgen, I'm just wondering what you've made of Burnley's form this season, and if you'd agree that it's really picked up since Ben Mee has come back into the side.
Yeah, look, when you look at the goal difference, I think it's 9-22. That means they obviously didn't score now a lot of goals, but they don't concede a lot as well. So that just shows us what it's how tough the game will be. But was always like this against Burnley. Yeah? Proper fight, second ball fight, defending the channel balls, defending the intensity of which Burnley puts in, a specific intensity. So, and all these kind of things. And that Ben Mee is a very, very important player for Burnley. So I knew that before. That's clear. So they have a really settled lineup, and not only with Tarkowski and me, but these two and Pope. But these three players, I think they are I think we can say a little bit the heart of the team. So then they have the strikers up front who work their socks off, and good footballers in midfield. So that's the situation. They play in a specific way, and I really respect that. They do it for years, and Sean is always able to squeeze really good performances out of the squad, even when it's not the biggest squad in the world. And of course, if they have injuries, that hurts them maybe even more than other teams. But that's the situation. They know that, they deal with it very well, and we have to face it.
A couple of years ago, I think it was when you were chasing Manchester City, you said that you have to be really close to perfection to win a Premier League title. So in this strange season where everybody's having dips and blips in form, what is it going to take for a team to win the league?
Again, close to perfection, but perfection depends on the situation. So there is no perfect season with 100 something 14 points or so. There's just dealing with circumstances, dealing with the situation, and dealing with the amount of games and these kind of things. And we have to be as perfect as possible, and that's what we all try. And I think pretty much all the teams had meanwhile now kind of a dip here and there, and some sorted already, some are on the way to sort it. That's the situation. It's not. I understand 100% the need to talk all the time about it, but we cannot change it just in a minute, and not only because we realize now here and there their legs a little bit this or that, then we change it the next day, and then we should change it with other players, bring in other players, change the lineup and all these kind of things. You can imagine the day has 24 hours. We think about a lot of stuff, and most of the things the public things about we think about as well, but not all of them. And for sure, somebody has to be calm in this kind of situation. It's not a catastrophe or whatever, our situation. It's not perfect, but that's not important, because it's just to really be as good as you can be. And I saw a lot of good signs in the Man United game, and if we would have won that game, everybody would have seen them. Because we didn't win them, nobody was interested in it. That cannot change my view.
Okay, James Mountford, and then one from James from TalkSport. James.
Thank you, Matt. Hi there, Jürgen. When you get a game like Sunday, when you have Jordan Henderson and Fabinho starting in defence, I just wonder what goes through your decision making, because you are gaining a defender with experience, but you are also losing something from midfield. Do you almost have to weigh at what is the worst, the lesser of the two, the lesser evil, I should say?
No, we played with a 6 and an 8 on the centre position. If you go back, Hendo is an 8. If you want, box to box player, and Fabinho, I think, would describe himself as a 6. So defensively, they did outstandingly well, and offensively, you can make a positive difference with these kind of players in a build up. And against United, you have to build. And we did that really well, and so that was the thought process behind it. So just what do you get? And I was never in doubt about that they can defend it. Now the next game is a different game, because some things are even similar. The area where they defend, stuff like this, are similar, but the way Burnley counterattacks is different to how Burnley. So United and Burnley are different, for sure, in counter-attacking, how they do that and all these kind of things. But there are differences, and we have to make sure that we find a solution for that again. So how is that defensively? Now the boys did really well. All of the boys did really well since we started the season. But that we cannot change the situation. Asking me if I miss somebody in midfield, if I would think it's better to play them in midfield than in the last line, we would do it. So easy as that. So, but we thought for that game it's better this way around.
And Xherdan Shaqiri, he obviously started on Sunday. I just wondered for you, what makes him unique to your team, different to perhaps some of the other midfield options that you've got?
They are all unique. So, and Shaq's big strength is obviously passing, little movements, creativity, vision. Has really good last pass. Is a good connector. A lot of stuff which is really good, and that's why he was now in the lineup. And I think. Look, we had two players on the pitch who didn't play a lot of games in the recent weeks, like with Thiago and Shaqiri, and they both did really well. So, but of course, there's much more to come. So, because rhythm, we cannot just ask for it and see it again. So, you have to gain rhythm by games, and that's a little bit the problem. But they did really well, and so that helped us a lot, and I'm really happy about that.
Thank you, James. James, one from TalkSport.
Jürgen, there's been a bit of criticism about the front three because of the lack of goals in the last 3 games. But do you feel like it's more of a collective responsibility from the whole team? It's not just down to those 3 players.
Come on, you know the answer yourself. Of course, it's about the whole team. No doubt about that. The boys themselves know that goals are not flying in from right and left in a moment. So you have just to work on it. And there will be a moment when we score again. Stones, City, I don't know. A week ago he scored his first goal for City, I think against United. In the next game he scores twice. So you cannot explain that really. It's happening, and that's the thing. And if the calmer you stay, but staying greedy as well, making good decisions and all these kind of things, the earlier the situation will change. So that's it.
Fantastic. Carl, and then Nate to finish with the Open. Then we'll take hands up for the breakout. We'll take what we can. Carl.
Hi, Jürgen. I'm just wondering, with the front three, you're obviously getting some questions about them. How much does fatigue play a part in maybe them not being as sharp as you'd like them?
Who is fatigue?
Fatigue, tiredness. It's a posh word for tiredness.
Oh, sorry.
It's a posh word for tiredness.
Okay, not posh actually.
So nobody's tired. Nobody's tired. Nobody's fatigued. So it plays absolutely no role. We are as fresh as possible.
Okay. And in the interview today, Jeannie spoke about how analysis is better and teams are doing more to stop you scoring. I'm just wondering, does there come a point where teams get so used to how you play that it becomes easier for them and
You can make of it what you want. It's football. It's not a new game. We didn't invent it new and surprise the teams last year and they, oh my God. So that's how they attack. So each team is to defend, of course, but no team is to defend for a whole game. Maybe a whole game, but not the next game then, if you do the right stuff again and again. So other teams know what we are doing. They knew last year what we were doing, but it's still difficult to defend. And the most of the chances, the really good chances, we didn't miss because they defended us. We missed because we didn't use them. So that's a massive difference. So there are chances which they defend well with the block in the box, in the 6-yard box, whatever. But there are other chances where we just have to finish it off better with a better shot, or have to play the last pass in a better way, or these kind of things. So that's the reason. It's not about that teams defend against us with all they have. So we know that now really for a while, and that's not new. So. Yeah, I know. So in a moment we have. So you're right. We have an offensive crisis. The next headline will be: we are now. Everybody knows now how to deal with us and all these kind of things. That's completely normal in these phases. So you smile now while you ask the question, but you know exactly what the headlines like this create and what people start thinking. So but it's normal. So it's the situation we are in. Things change overnight. I think I heard somewhere that I have to rebuild this team. So that's obviously the world is a crazy place. Not only because of the pandemic, it's because nobody has time anymore, and in football, we know that. I'm long enough in to know that you never get really time. You only get time if you make always steps forward. Then the people say, yeah, okay, I can see that. In a moment, that's clear. After the last season, we didn't make steps forward. We really know that, and we want to change that. But we have to change that by playing, not by talking.
And then to finish, one from Nate, and then if the guys for the breakout start putting their hands up, I'll get to those of you who can. Nate?
Hi Jürgen, at the start of the season you said you were going to attack the title rather than defend it. Now that you're part of the chasing pack, what has your message to the players been, and is there anything in particular you'd like to see from them on Thursday?
You don't want to hear my message to the players, because that's not let you shine in a really good light. But believe it or not, we still chase it. Nothing changed. We still chasing doesn't mean that you are always in the best possible position. Chasing is more a general mood. So we go for it, and if you don't see that, I cannot change it. So if you think we don't score goals because we don't want it enough, I cannot change that. If you think we don't score goals or have enough results because we are not good enough, I cannot change that. Not here. The only thing I can do is to work with the boys on the right stuff, and that you all see it again in the football games we play.